Hi, this is Sherry at the Intentional Home Podcast, where I share tips and resources to help you live with intention and purpose. This is episode number 29, and today we're going to be continuing our series about habits, and we're going to be addressing the problem sometimes of how to fix healthy meals and snacks for your family. So we all know that this is something we probably all want to do, but we either don't have the time or the energy or the discipline, lots of different excuses why we struggle in this area. But I just want to share today some tips that hopefully will help you as you strive to become better at fixing healthier meals for you and your family. So to start out with, the first tip that I have for you is to plan your menus. Now, if I could just give you one tip as you start to fix healthy meals for your family, it would be to write out a menu each week. Now, if you like to plan a whole week at a time, that's great. Some people like to plan 2 weeks or even a month at a time. But if that is just too much to start out with, just start out with planning a day or two. You know, decide ahead of time what you're going to fix for breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and maybe have some snacks ready too ahead of time so that we'll get into that in a little bit, but go ahead and think of some snacks that you can make too and be sure and add those onto your menus. So menu planning is something, and in order to make it a little bit more fun, it's not always fun, but I have a bunch of pretty menu planning forms that you can use and download from my website. And in the show notes, I'll put a link to a post that has just a bunch of different forms that you can use just to make it a little bit more fun as you plan out your menus. So that was the first tip, is to plan out your menus. You know, if you don't have a plan in place, then you're going to tend to default back into either eating out or fixing stuff that's fast and easy, which most of the time tends to not be as good for us. So the first tip is to plan out your menus, plan what you're going to eat. Don't wait until it's time to fix dinner to decide what you're going to have. The next tip I want to share is to create a recipe notebook. Now, this is something that I have done for quite a few years, and it's been such a blessing and it's really helped me. Now, when you create your own recipe notebook, basically what you're doing is you're taking all of the recipes that you and your family loves, whether they are recipes that have been handed down through the family members, or recipes you found on the internet, or recipes you found in your favorite cookbooks, but you have compiled all of those recipes and put them in one place in a notebook so that you have everything in one place. Now, I actually have mine split up into, I have a dessert and snacks notebook, and then I have a main meal notebook. But you can divide it up however you want. Mine just got too full and I had to divide it. So, but what you do is you just take a 3-ring binder and put a bunch of sheet protectors in it. And if you want to put some type of dividers, you can do that. But then go ahead and start adding recipes to your notebook. If you have recipes on recipe cards and things like that, you can just make a photocopy of it and then slide that into your notebook. If you have recipes in cookbooks, just scan those to make a copy and add that to your notebook. Any recipes on the internet that you've tried and your family loves, all you got to do is print out a nice copy of that and put that in your notebook. So if you want to do that, I think it's a wonderful way to be organized. It helps when you're going to plan your menus. You can easily flip through your notebook and see all the recipes that your family loves, and it helps give you ideas of what you could plan for your meals. And besides just the convenience of having all your recipes in one place, you know, you don't have to you get to dinner time and there's this one spaghetti recipe that you know your family really loves, this spaghetti sauce recipe that you made, but you can't remember whether it was something you printed off the internet and who knows where that paper is, or whether it's in one of your cookbooks and I can't remember which one. You don't have to do that anymore. You can have everything in one place. So if you do not want to do a recipe notebook and you like or you prefer to have recipe cards, I have some free editable recipe cards that you can download, and you can actually type into them and then print them out on cardstock paper and cut them out and put them in a recipe box. So that's an option too if you prefer that. But for me, it's just been the easiest thing to have them in a notebook where I can easily just pull out my notebook. The recipes are on sheet protectors so they don't get dirty, because I just pull it out, open it up, set it on my stove or the counter where I'm working and go at it. And I get flour and stuff spilled on things, but it doesn't matter because it just wipes off and I'm good to go. So that is another tip, is make your own recipe notebook. And I am going to put a link in the show notes to a page on my site where you can download some printables that you can use to make your own recipe book. It's basically it's just some divider pages that you can use to kind of divide up the sections of your notebook. So you can feel free to go check those links out in the show notes. Okay, my next tip is to start with one meal. Now, sometimes when we, especially these health-related habits that we're trying to work on, whether it's exercise or eating healthy, sometimes it's easy to want to just jump right in and try to make every single meal healthy and every single snack. And we just want to go 100% full in. And, most of us, that's not very realistic. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. And then we just throw in the towel and don't do anything. So what I want to encourage you to do is to get out your recipe notebook and start browsing through your recipes you've already collected. If you need some more ideas for recipes, you can go to my website. I'll have links to my recipe index, to my Pinterest account. I also have a bunch of recipe ebooks in my store that make it real easy. You can just print that out and they're all ready to go in your recipe notebook. But what I want you to do is to maybe just start with breakfast. So you're going to go through and find some breakfast ideas and choose a recipe that you want to try, maybe if it's a new recipe, and fix it that morning. And if you like it, then print it out or add that recipe to your recipe notebook. And then if you don't like it, then just throw it away or cross it off your list and move on to another recipe. Now, I do want to make a note here. In your recipe notebook, do not put any recipe in your notebook unless you have tried the recipe and your family loves it. You don't want your recipe book all cluttered up with a bunch of recipes that you saw on Pinterest and you really want to try it, but you don't know if your family's going to like it or not. So that's one tip, is just save that recipe notebook for the tried and true recipes that your family loves. So starting with one meal, just start with breakfast. Make a list of some breakfasts that your family loves and, maybe try to think of some ways that you can make things healthier. One thing that I just want to encourage you with, you can go way overboard in the whole health thing and trying to do things the right way, if there is a right way. But one thing I want to encourage you with is that when you're first starting out, sometimes just being able to make something from scratch is healthier than buying a store-bought processed version. Okay? So, don't beat yourself up if you make something from scratch, but maybe it has sugar in it or whatever. Making things from scratch is still going to be better for you than buying something that's pre-made from the store. So start out simple and take baby steps. So starting out with breakfast, Go ahead and go until you've got, a good list of breakfasts that your family loves and that you're fixing every day. Get into a habit of fixing a good breakfast every day. Then when you have that in place, then you can move on to maybe lunch and then your dinner meal and then snacks. So just take it baby steps, one at a time. I guess that would really be another tip, is just to take baby steps. Don't overwhelm yourself and just take your time. Make one change at a time and be encouraged that you're making progress. So the next tip is to fix healthy snacks. Now, I have to admit, snacks is one of my downfalls. It's so easy just to grab something because it's quick and it's most likely not good for me, but when you don't have snacks made up ahead of time, that's what happens. So my tip in this area is to make up some snacks ahead of time. Have them in the refrigerator or in the freezer, or just, if there's something that doesn't have to be in the fridge, just having something made ahead of time so that you can grab it when you want a snack. Now in the show notes, I'm going to link up a bunch of yummy sugar-free snack ideas that I have recipes on my website. So you can feel free to take a look at those. Most of you know that I have followed the Trim Healthy Mama way of eating. I've not been perfect at it, obviously, but I do enjoy a lot of the recipes, and because they're sugar-free and a lot of them are lower carbs. So take a look at those snack recipes and see if there isn't something there that maybe you could adapt to your family. And if you need more recipes, you can check out all my snack recipes on my website, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So before I close, I want to invite you to join a challenge. It's kind of interesting when I had already planned to share this on the podcast, and then the end of last week, I found out that Ultimate Bundles is partnering up with Katie from Wellness Mama, and they're doing a healthy eating reboot challenge. So I put the link in the show notes for where you can go join that. You can sign up through Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday, and the challenge starts on Friday, August 24th, and runs 7 days. So if you want to join that challenge, basically it's going to be where you'll get an email every day with a challenge for you to do. And a lot of times it will include a printable, and it says that by the end of the challenge, you'll have an organized and healthier pantry. You'll have ideas to make everyday lunches a no-brainer, tips to make healthy meal prep faster and easier than ever, and a stress-free meal plan. So as we head into the fall and as school is starting for many of us, this challenge, it looks like it's going to be amazing. So it says that each day's challenge only takes about 20 minutes or less each day. So I know I'm pretty excited to go through the challenge, and if you're wanting to join me, again, just check the show notes and I'll have a link there where you can click over and sign up to join. So I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast today. I know eating healthy is not the easiest thing to do. It takes a lot of discipline. And I know, especially if you have a large family, it's sometimes hard to find things that the whole family loves to eat. So it takes patience, it takes time, it takes trying recipes, finding things that your whole family loves, and then going for it. So I just want to encourage you, as you work on this habit, it's not going to be something that's going to change overnight. Take baby steps, take one meal at a time, and work away at it, and then move on to another meal, and on through with snacks, and just take your time. Start replacing some of those things that you've used to just buy at the store with maybe something homemade, and just work away at it until it becomes more of a habit and a part of your life. So thank you again for joining me here on the Intentional Home Podcast. If you would like more information on my podcast and to hear previous podcasts, and to see all of the links to the show notes, please just head over to my podcast page at sherrygraham.com/podcast. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.